lovely theater kids, and welcome back to another Theater Video Thursday. So, as I said last week, I'm trying to make things a little easier and not have you guys only get one video like every couple months. Trying to get on a schedule, and so I'm recording 2 reviews today. Hopefully you have already watched my review of Hamilton. I will link that down in the description box below, as well as the little button. I'm not sure what side it's on anymore. YouTube keeps changing things. So it's somewhere up there, as well as in the description box down below. So I hope you will join me for my review of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So as a lot of you guys know, I saw this show in London. That's another review I will link down below in the description, because that review is very, very different than the Broadway review. It's very hard for me to actually do a review of this because every other video I've done that has involved a review of a show has been so incredibly positive that it's very hard for me to make this one because there are some negative elements to it. And I will be completely honest that I did not enjoy this version of this show as much as I had hoped I would. I really enjoyed the London version and what they had done and the spins they had put on it, but I will be completely honest and say I did not like the changes that they had done for this American version. So to start off, I got to see this show because I won the lottery. I got to see this show for $40. My seat, I don't remember the row, but I was on the right side orchestra on the aisle towards the center, and it was a really good seat, so that was nice for 40 bucks. But the show did not necessarily live up to my expectations. Like, it was a very good show. It just was personally not my cup of tea. I will be completely honest and say this is marketed as a family show because it was a family film. Both versions of this movie is a family picture, and the book is read in schools. While this show, it's marketed towards families, but it's very dark. Here's my take on this. In this version, you literally see Violet explode. She's not on stage when it happens, but you see all of this confetti fly out from the side with the sound effect of an explosion, as well as her 2 sneakers. And her dad carries off her empty sneakers. And then a little while later, Veruca is physically ripped apart by the squirrels. And when I say that, I mean they bring a doll out, literally tear it limb from limb, and the squirrel in the center is holding her decapitated head at the end of the number. That was very disturbing to me, and I'm sure would be disturbing to a small child. Like, you're pretty sure that these kids aren't gonna make it out alive, especially in like the Gene Wilder original. But like in the Johnny Depp version, you always have that little hope of these kids are walking out probably scarred for life, but they're walking out alive, like they physically show in the Johnny Depp version. So, and in the London version too, they never say that these kids are physically dead. They always just move right along and never talk about them again. And you don't see them at the end of the show. And, well, obviously they're there for curtain call, but you don't see them, like, walk out of the factory alive. That was one thing, like, I feel like kids need a little more closure on. Like, when sad things happen in a movie, like, the parent can always say, oh, look, see, they're okay. Like, this bad thing happened, but they're still all right. You can't do that in this show. Like, you literally see a girl torn limb from limb, and you never see her again. And that would probably very much disturb me as a small child. Moving on, the cast was incredible. I absolutely loved Emily Paget. I cannot for the life of me pronounce her last name, but she played Mrs. Bucket, and I really loved her song, If Your Father Were Here. And I liked that change from the London version, because Charlie had both of his parents in the London version. This one he only had his mom, but that song made a lot more sense only being sung by his mother as opposed to both of his parents, and I really, really liked that. Grandpa Joe, John Rubinstein, amazing. The kid who played Charlie, I don't remember what Charlie I had, but he was so much fun, such a talented kid. And unfortunately, Christian Borle wasn't on that day, so we had his understudy, and his name was Jared Bradshaw. I couldn't remember his name for a second, I had to look that up. So Jared Bradshaw was very, very fun. He was an amazing Willy Wonka, and he did so well, because I'm pretty sure Borle goes on the majority of the time, so I don't know if he gets to do Wonka that often, and he did so well at it. Now, I want to talk about the sets a little bit, because this is a show with very, very minimal set, and I wasn't necessarily sure if I liked that, because this show in particular, it has the tagline, not necessarily like a tagline, but it has the line in the show, "It must be believed to be seen." So once they're in the factory, there is very little like spectacular elements on the set. Basically, it's a large box that they bring stuff in and out of, and the things that are brought in and out are much smaller than the actual box, so there is a lot of empty space left. So I got what they were trying to do with the whole element of you have to believe it in order to see it, so you have to use your imagination to make the rest of the set. But in a way, when you go to see the Wonka chocolate factory, you want to see that opulence, you want to see that magical factor, and this didn't really have it for me, and that kind of disappointed me, because there was so much empty space left on the stage, and there was so many times where like the actors were clumped into one corner of the stage and all you could see was that empty space, so it made it even more apparent to me that that's what was going on, and it just didn't necessarily float my boat. But what the sets, I will say though, the sets that they did have were very, very nice. The small little wagon that had the chocolate field on it was very, very cool. The candy looked delicious. I wish it was actually edible, because that would have been really cool. But the sets they did have were really, really awesome. I loved the house with the bunk bed up on top with all the grandparents and the tiny little candy shop. That was really cool. They did make a lot of changes from the London version. Some I didn't necessarily agree with. Some I was more than okay with, but all in all, this wasn't my favorite show of the season, and I would caution parents as to taking their children to see it.